Imagine two people celebrating their 40th birthday. They earn almost the same salary. They both own a home. They both have children. They both worked hard for over 20 years. From the outside, their lives look almost identical. Now jump ahead 25 years. One of them wakes up on a Monday morning with nowhere they have to be. Their mortgage is gone. Their investments generate income. Bills no longer create anxiety. They spend time with family because they want to, not because they're trying to fit life around work. The other person also wakes up on Monday morning, but their alarm isn't a choice. It's a necessity. Retirement is only a dream because they still need every paycheck. Rising medical costs worry them. Every unexpected expense feels like a setback. The freedom they imagined never arrived. Here's the surprising part. Neither of these futures was decided in their 20s, and it wasn't determined by one lucky investment or one terrible mistake. It was largely decided during their 40s. Most people believe retirement is something you start thinking about when you're in your 60s. Others believe the biggest opportunity is in your 20s, and if you missed it, you're already behind. But neither idea tells the whole story. Your 40s are often the decade where your financial future quietly becomes much harder to change, because by then, you have enough income for your decisions to matter, but you have less time to recover from the wrong ones. That's why this decade is so powerful. Not because everything changes overnight, but because small decisions begin producing very large consequences. And the biggest danger isn't obvious. It's that life finally starts feeling comfortable. For many Americans, their 40s are the busiest years of life. Your career may finally be paying off. You're probably earning more than you did 10 years ago. Your children may be growing older. Your home may be bigger. Your lifestyle may look more successful. From the outside, everything appears to be moving in the right direction. But underneath that success, something else is happening. Expenses are quietly growing faster than freedom. The mortgage is larger. The car payments are higher. Insurance costs increase. College savings become urgent. Healthcare becomes more expensive. Vacations become expectations instead of occasional rewards. None of these decisions seem unreasonable on their own. That's exactly why they're so dangerous. Because financial stress rarely arrives through one massive mistake. It usually arrives through dozens of perfectly normal decisions. Each one feels small. Together, they reshape your future. Behavioral economists have a name for this: lifestyle inflation. It's one of the most common financial patterns in America. Every time income rises, spending quietly rises with it. A promotion leads to a nicer house. A bonus leads to a newer car. A raise leads to more expensive restaurants, subscriptions, vacations, and monthly payments. None of these purchases feel extravagant. In fact, they often feel deserved. After years of hard work, rewarding yourself seems perfectly reasonable. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with enjoying your money. The real problem isn't spending more. The real problem is spending everything. Because every dollar that permanently increases your lifestyle is a dollar that no longer has the opportunity to build your future. This is where two people earning exactly the same income begin moving toward completely different retirements. Imagine two coworkers. Both receive a $15,000 annual raise. The first person immediately upgrades their lifestyle. A larger SUV, a more expensive neighborhood, higher monthly payments. Within a year, every extra dollar has already been committed. Life feels better, but strangely, it doesn't feel richer. The second person makes a different decision. Before changing anything else, they automatically invest half of every raise. Only then do they gradually improve their lifestyle. 10 years later, their daily lives don't look dramatically different, but their financial futures couldn't be more different. This is one of the biggest misconceptions about wealth. People think wealth is built by earning extraordinary amounts of money. In reality, wealth is often built by protecting ordinary income from extraordinary lifestyle growth. And your 40s are when this difference becomes incredibly important. Because something else is happening that many people fail to notice. Time is changing. When you're 25, financial mistakes are frustrating, but you usually have decades to recover. When you're 45, every year becomes more valuable. Compound growth is still incredibly powerful, but it has fewer years left to work its magic. That's why delaying important financial decisions during your 40s carries a hidden cost that most people never see. Not today, not next month, but 20 years later. Because retirement isn't built during the year you stop working. It's built during the years when you still have enough time for your money to grow. And that's where the real story begins. Because the greatest financial advantage of your 40s isn't simply earning more money. It's understanding that every major decision you make during this decade quietly echoes through every decade that follows. In the next part, we'll uncover the hidden financial decisions people make in their 40s that silently determine whether retirement becomes a season of freedom or a lifetime of financial stress. The biggest retirement mistakes rarely look like mistakes. In fact, they often look like progress. A larger paycheck, a nicer home, a newer car, a promotion, a bigger vacation. They're the kinds of milestones people celebrate. But sometimes, those same milestones quietly delay financial freedom. The reason is simple. Every financial decision has two prices. The first is the amount you pay today. The second is the future you give up. Most people only see the first one. Imagine buying a luxury SUV with a monthly payment of $900. At first, the decision seems manageable. Your income has increased, and the payment fits comfortably into your budget. But what most people never calculate is the opportunity cost. That same $900 invested every month for 20 years, earning a reasonable long-term return, could grow into several $100,000. Suddenly, the vehicle isn't just costing its sticker price. It's costing years of future financial freedom. This doesn't mean buying a nice car is always the wrong decision. For some people, it fits comfortably within their financial plan. The point is that every recurring expense competes with your future investments. Money can only do one job at a time. It can improve your lifestyle today, or it can improve your freedom tomorrow. The challenge is finding the balance. And balance becomes much harder during your 40s because life begins demanding your money from every direction. Children may be preparing for college. Parents may need financial assistance. Healthcare costs become less predictable. Home maintenance becomes more expensive. Unexpected emergencies happen more often than they did in your 20s. Many people respond by putting retirement savings on hold. They tell themselves they'll catch up later. It sounds reasonable. After all, family comes first. But this is where the hidden cost appears. The years between 40 and 50 are some of the most valuable years for compound growth. Not because you're young, but because you still have enough time for your investments to multiply before retirement. Lose those years, and catching up becomes dramatically harder. This is one reason financial experts often encourage people to increase retirement contributions during their peak earning years whenever possible. Not because retirement is close, but because time is becoming more limited. And then there's another challenge almost nobody talks about: debt. Many Americans expect debt to shrink as they grow older. Instead, it often follows them into middle age. Mortgage balances remain. Car loans are renewed. Credit card balances quietly grow. Home equity loans finance renovations. Monthly obligations slowly replace financial flexibility. The dangerous part isn't always the interest rate. It's the loss of choice. Imagine losing your job at 30. It would be stressful. Now imagine losing your job at 48 while carrying a large mortgage, multiple car payments, and thousands of dollars in monthly obligations. The financial pressure feels completely different. Debt doesn't just reduce your income. It reduces your options. And freedom has always been one of the greatest forms of wealth. But perhaps the biggest financial mistake people make during their 40s has nothing to do with debt or investing. It has everything to do with identity. Throughout our lives, we naturally compare ourselves to others. It's human nature. You notice your friend's remodeled kitchen, a coworker's luxury vacation, a neighbor's new truck, someone else's bigger house. Without realizing it, your definition of normal begins to change. Psychologists call this social comparison. Instead of measuring success against your own goals, you begin measuring it against someone else's lifestyle. The problem is that you rarely see the full picture. You see the vacation photos. You don't see the credit card bill. You see the luxury vehicle. You don't see the monthly payment. You see the renovated home. You don't see the financial stress behind it. Retirement planning quietly loses the competition because its rewards are invisible. Nobody congratulates you for increasing your retirement contribution. Few people notice that you chose to keep driving the reliable car for 5 more years. No one applauds the decision to invest instead of upgrade. But 20 years later, those invisible decisions become impossible to ignore. This is where wealth quietly separates itself from income. High income can create a comfortable lifestyle, but disciplined behavior creates lasting financial security. History offers countless examples of people who earned millions and still faced financial hardship because spending consistently outpaced saving. At the same time, many households with ordinary incomes quietly built substantial retirement savings by following simple, repeatable habits. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't luck. And it certainly wasn't perfection. It was consistency. Small actions repeated over decades almost always outperform dramatic financial decisions made once in a while. Automating retirement contributions, avoiding unnecessary debt, increasing investments after every raise, living slightly below your means. None of these habits feel exciting. In fact, they're almost boring. But wealth has always been built through boring consistency rather than dramatic moments. Still, there's one more reality that makes your 40s unlike any other decade. Your career itself begins changing. Many professionals reach their highest earning years during this period, but they also face greater uncertainty. Technology changes industries. Companies restructure. Skills become outdated. Competition increases. For the first time, retirement planning isn't only about investments. It's also about protecting your ability to earn. The people who enter retirement with the most confidence often invested in more than just the stock market. They invested in themselves. They learned new skills, built professional relationships, protected their health, stayed adaptable. Because your greatest financial asset during your 40s isn't your retirement account. It's your ability to continue generating income. And protecting that ability may be just as important as growing your investments. In the final part, we'll bring all of these pieces together into a practical framework, a roadmap that can help turn your 40s into the decade that builds freedom instead of financial stress. By now, one thing should be clear. Your 40s aren't simply another decade on the calendar. They're a crossroads. The decisions you make during these years don't just affect next month's budget. They shape the options you'll have 20 or 30 years from now. The encouraging news is that you don't need a six-figure raise, a winning lottery ticket, or the perfect investment to change your future. For many people, the biggest improvements come from changing a handful of financial habits and repeating them consistently. The first is simple. Treat every raise as an opportunity to build wealth before you build a bigger lifestyle. Imagine receiving a salary increase. The natural reaction is to spend it. After all, you've worked hard for it. But instead of allowing the entire raise to disappear into new monthly expenses, consider directing part of it toward your future first. Increase your retirement contributions. Invest more. Strengthen your emergency fund. Then, if you choose, enjoy some of what's left. This approach allows your quality of life to improve without sacrificing your long-term freedom. The second habit is learning to measure success differently. Modern culture often celebrates visible wealth. The larger house, the luxury car, the designer clothes, the expensive vacation. But real financial security is often invisible. It's the emergency fund no one sees, the retirement account nobody posts online, the paid-off debt, the investments quietly growing in the background. One lifestyle attracts attention. The other creates freedom. Ask yourself a simple question before making a major purchase. Will this improve my financial life 5 years from now, or only my feelings this weekend? Sometimes the answer will justify the purchase. Sometimes it won't. The important thing is making the decision consciously instead of emotionally. The third habit is protecting your future from unexpected setbacks. Life becomes less predictable as we grow older. Unexpected medical expenses, job changes, family emergencies, economic downturns. None of these events are unusual. What matters is whether you're financially prepared when they arrive. That's why an emergency fund isn't just money sitting in a savings account. It's flexibility. It's peace of mind. It's the ability to make decisions without panic. The fourth habit is reducing financial commitments before retirement instead of carrying them into retirement. Imagine entering your 60s without a mortgage payment, without car loans, without expensive consumer debt. Your retirement savings suddenly don't need to stretch nearly as far. Every debt you eliminate today becomes one less monthly obligation your future self has to carry. Freedom isn't only about having more money. It's also about needing less. Then there's another investment that's often overlooked: your health. Poor health can become one of the most expensive financial risks later in life. Medical bills increase. Working becomes more difficult. Retirement may arrive earlier than expected, not because you're financially ready, but because your body forces the decision. Taking care of yourself isn't only a health decision. It's a financial one. The same is true for your career. Keep learning. Stay curious. Develop new skills. Build relationships. Technology will continue changing the workplace. The people who remain adaptable often remain valuable. And extending your earning power even by a few years can significantly strengthen your retirement picture. But perhaps the most important lesson has nothing to do with numbers. Because money has always been about more than mathematics. It's about behavior. Think back to the two people we met at the beginning. They earned similar incomes. They worked hard. They wanted the same thing, a comfortable retirement and the freedom to enjoy life. The difference wasn't one dramatic decision. It was hundreds of ordinary ones. One consistently chose immediate lifestyle improvements. The other consistently protected part of their future. Neither decision felt life-changing at the time. But over 25 years, those small choices quietly separated two completely different lives. That's how wealth is usually built. Not through perfection, not through extraordinary intelligence, and rarely through extraordinary income. It's built through consistency, through patience, through understanding that every financial decision carries both an immediate reward and a future consequence. Many people believe retirement is something they prepare for during the final years of their career. But retirement doesn't begin when you stop working. It begins decades earlier, with the habits you repeat when nobody is watching, the dollars you choose to invest instead of spend, the debt you choose not to take on, the lifestyle you refuse to let outrun your income. Those quiet decisions rarely receive applause, but they create something far more valuable than recognition. They create options, and options create freedom. Because in the end, retirement isn't really about reaching a certain age. It's about reaching a point where work becomes a choice instead of a necessity. Your 40s don't guarantee a comfortable retirement, and they don't guarantee financial stress either. They simply magnify the direction you're already moving. If your habits are building assets, your 40s can become the decade that accelerates your freedom. If your habits are building obligations, they can quietly make retirement harder than it needs to be. The good news is that every paycheck gives you another opportunity to change direction. Not overnight, not with one perfect investment, but with one better decision repeated again and again. Because the future isn't built by the biggest financial decision you ever make. It's built by the small decisions you make consistently. And perhaps that's the hidden truth behind retirement. It's never really been about money alone. It's about the choices money allows you to make. Every dollar you save is more than a number in an account. It's a little more control over your time, a little more security during uncertainty, a little more freedom to live life on your own terms. And when you look at retirement through that lens, your 40s stop feeling like the beginning of the end. They become the beginning of your greatest financial opportunity.